approach? I presume you do this asset by asset. Would you a platform or a refinery? Or,
yes, that's right.
Yes,
yeah.
How you would approach, just generically, how you would approach installing your system on a platform, for example.
Okay, so the first thing is to establish what their safety barrier model is. So they'll have done HazOps. They'll have documents that say these are the major accident hazards we've identified, and this is how we stop them happening. So we build a digital model of that. So we can run scripts as much as possible over whatever spreadsheets or things they've got, and we'll also import their master equipment list from a system, so we can link that into all this barrier model, and then we can map onto that soft barriers, like people and processes. So the digital model doesn't just have to be physical stuff; it can be the processes as well and the people. Then we connect it to the systems where they get that data from. So it might be an HSE system like Synergy, or it might be a maintenance system like Aviva or Maximo or SAP, and there might be an alerts from the safety system, maybe Honeywell or Emerson or something. We make listeners, so we get all the data, and then we do processes, and inside those processes we can apply the rules that they give us for how they want us to interpret that information. So, for example, if I have a work order that if I have an inspection job that I'm supposed to do every 3 months and it's a week overdue, then I want you to mark it yellow. But if it's due every year, then I'll accept it being a month overdue before it goes yellow. Or so maybe they have colours, or maybe they have scores. Maybe they want us to give a yellow thing has a score of 2. And then using the model, you can actually aggregate up. So from the bits of equipment or the people, they're connected to what's called barrier elements. And the barrier elements are the things of a common type designed to do a job. So, for example, you might have a barrier element for safety valves that stop process leaks, also overpressure. So all the safety valves will be part of the safety valve barrier element, and then you might have other things like shutdown valves or gas detectors. So you can aggregate up then what's the total score at the barrier element level, and then you go up through things like barrier functions, which then span multiple elements. So you might have a barrier function that is to prevent hydrocarbon leaks, and that will be made up of level transmitters, pressure transmitters, safety valves, pumps, who knows, all different kinds of stuff, and they perform a function. And then those functions go up into either an area and then a major accident hazard. So, for example, to prevent explosion, you need to stop leaks and then stop. If you do get a leak, you need to stop it igniting. So you might have 2 functions: stop leaks, prevent ignition, and then underneath those you'll have all the kit that does that. So we can configure the scoring that aggregates up to each of those levels, and then by cutting that data in different ways, you can get a view of your risk by, say, major accident hazard being an obvious one. What's the total score for this hazard? But because we know what system the equipment's in, for example, we can say, well, give me the score by system. Or we know what performance standard all the different types of equipment are linked to. So, for example, there's one called Performance Standard 8, which is gas detection. So we can tell you what your risk is or your compliance with Performance Standard 8 is. Or we can say, what's the risk score in this particular area, because we know where the equipment's located. So it gives people a sort of a dynamic risk picture depending on what their viewpoint is. And that's one of the major differences between our system and what people have been doing previously.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. They still need to action those. Do you give suggested actions? Do you give stop producing warnings and these sort of things, or is it up to them to interpret what the insights you give them?
So at this point, it's advisory. So we don't make recommendations like stop producing, but what we'll do is we'll present a list of the top 10 most critical tags based on the view they want. So you might say, what are the top 10 most critical tags related to explosions in the process area? And you'll get a list of, here's the 10 that you need to action right now because they've had, they're all broken or something. Or you could say, what's the top 10 most critical tags in this particular